A very good evening to you all. This is Dr. Reddy Shekhar Reddy, Vice President of ELTAI. A warm welcome on behalf of ELTAI to each and every one of you on this fine evening to the ELTAI webinar series session 14. The session is on attentive and focused listening, some strategies. This evening we have with us three speakers for this webinar session: Dr. Sandesha Rayappa, Mr. Virender Singh, and Ms. Risha Chahal. The session will be moderated by Ms. Jayashree Kannan. Before I go for introducing the moderator, as usual, we have a small video of ELTAI. I request the video to be played. Please, video. For the video, and once again welcome to you all to this session. And we have today with us Mrs. Jayashree Kannan to moderate the session, and she is an ELT expert and who taught at schools and worked with publishing houses. She is an extensive traveler, traveled all over the country and trained many teachers in English language teaching. And she is the author of many English language teaching books. And she prepared a new curriculum for the state of Nagaland. And presently, she is developing the meaningful material for English language teaching. And she was invited by UNICEF to review the teacher educator training module for Jammu and Kashmir, the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And she has an extensive experience in ELT and material producing and all. I think we are fortunate to have her as a moderator to this session to make the session very fruitful. I hand over the session to Ms. Jayashree Kannan ma'am for moderating the session. Over to you, ma'am. Xavier? It is showing that...
she has joined again, sir. Just give me a second. She'll join again. Jayashree ma'am, please turn on your camera.
Not connected at all.
You are connected. Please turn on your camera. Jayashree ma'am, please turn on your camera. Yeah. Ma'am, you can start now.
The world as we know has changed in the blink of an eye. Schools closed overnight, students were liberated from schools but confined to their homes. And parents had to grapple with keeping children productive at home. For teachers, suddenly online teaching was no longer a buzzword. Now everyone had to use technology. It is in this context that our topic for today gains a great deal of relevance. Today, we have gathered here to exchange and share our views on attentive and focused listening, some strategies. All our panelists today are practitioners and have been teaching listening skills in their face-to-face classrooms, but now have made a shift to teaching listening online. Our first panelist today is Richa Chahal. Ms. Richa Chahal works as a primary school in charge in a school of the Directorate of Education, Delhi. She has been a master trainer for English and communication skills for primary school teachers at the Directorate. She has also been part of the English Workbook Development Committee there for classes 1 and 2. Currently, she's an editor of the fortnightly bilingual e-newsletter, Primary Rockers Quarantine Times for primary school learners. Ms. Richa is a resource person at NCERT and SCERT Delhi too. Over to you, Richa.
Turn on your mic, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. Hello, friends. First of all, I would like to thank the ELTAI office bearers, ELTAI National Office, as well as Delhi chapter for giving me this opportunity and honor to share a few ideas on listening. Friends, I'm not an ELT expert, neither a consultant in English language learning or teaching. I'm just a classroom researcher and a practitioner who teaches primary classes and found out some interesting and innovative ways who teaches of doing things appropriately and innovatively. I believe the biggest lab in the world is classroom itself. I will be sharing with you all only those ideas, those activities, those techniques that I practice in my classroom. And believe me, if my learners can learn this way, any learner can learn English this way. So let's start. Friends, some of the ideas for developing listening skills for primary students may be proposed like they can watch movies, preferably short movies initially. Use your mobile phones, download podcasts, short news items of your interest, short poems recited by good orators. Listen to audiobooks of your interest, or you can listen to them directly online through internet or YouTube. Listen while you walk or travel on train, bus, or plane. Listen to authentic listening tasks. For example, different types of announcements like metro rail, bus stop, airport, weather bulletins, sports commentaries, conversations of people in different real-life situations like a shopkeeper and a customer at the ticket counter, asking for directions, etc. With all my due experience, I would advise just 1 or 2 minutes listening task for primary students can do wonders. While developing listening skill in my students, I face certain challenges while dealing with them. And some of them are, my learners come from different backgrounds. They have different mother tongues. And all these things make my class heterogeneous. To deal with this, that it is why English is taught as a second language in our schools. To deal with it, we use mother tongue wherever required. We use a lot of body language, facial expressions, total physical response activities, that is TPR activities. We conduct a lot of pair and group activities too. Now, let's discuss some online and offline resources one by one, which I use and you may also use in the classroom to develop effective listening skills of our students. First of all, I'll be talking about lyrics training. Lyrics training is an activity which I practice in my classroom, and it's an easy and fun way to learn and improve your students' English language skills, especially listening skill through music videos and lyrics of their favorite songs. I usually use Lenka's Everything at Once and Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes. My learners enjoy it a lot. Before introducing a new song, we need to take some time to have conversations about the meanings of the song so that the learners get acquainted to the song before listening to it. Next activity, sorry, it's not an activity, it's an app. It's Read Along app. And friends, I have been using this app since the lockdown started. Read Along is an app which helps students read text properly. The app shows a particular page of a book and reads the text of the page to the students for their listening. As it reads, it highlights the text so that the students can see the words as they hear them. Learners can also pause and rewind the contents if they feel that they have missed something or want to listen something again. Friends, it has also got an inbuilt assistant named Dia. Dia keeps on motivating students to listen and to read with better pronunciation by motivating them with stars and unlocking certain games. This is a very engaging app for students during these tough times of lockdown. Next, we come to an activity named Word Wall. And my dear friends, believe me, Word Wall is a very interesting activity and can be used in many different ways. For instance, sometimes I read aloud the words and ask the students to write those words. Sometimes I read those words and ask them to write the nouns only, the adjectives only, or action words, or characters, and so on. Sometimes they play such listening games amongst themselves through Word Wall. Word Wall can be converted as a TPR activity too. For instance, tell them a word and they will act accordingly. Here is a picture showing Word Wall. The last but not the least is the activity Listen and Respond. This is also a very important and successful activity that I do with my young learners. I use it in my classroom very often and in different ways too. If we take a well-known story, for instance, The Rabbit and the Tortoise, we will ask the students to listen to the story first. Then we will retell the story with some twisted facts. The students are supposed to shout, "Stop," whenever they listen to a twisted fact and correct the narrator. For example, if I tell a story of once upon a time there was a rabbit and a tortoise, but then I retell the story like once upon a time there was a rabbit and a lion. The students will shout "Stop" and they will correct me like, "Ma'am, it was not the rabbit and the lion, but it was the rabbit and the tortoise." It can be also turned into a TPR activity too. Like, if the kids find the facts correct, they will do a thumbs up, otherwise thumbs down. Lastly, my friends, there are some points to be kept in mind if a teacher wants to develop listening skills of the students. First, before conducting any listening activity, you should ensure that the class is silent, the learners are calm, and they are ready to learn. Second, grade-appropriate language should be used in the class. Third, keep your activities simple, short, and to the point. Number 4, give instructions in a sequence. Number 5, make your task real-life situation so that the learners can relate it too. And last, use clear and precise words with correct pronunciation. So friends, to conclude, I would suggest that every day, again, I say every day, at least 5 minutes should be given to listening practice at this younger level. Thank you, friends, for your attentive listening.
Thank you so much, Richa. Thanks a lot, Richa. Listening to Richa, I'm reminded of what Nick Peachy in recent times has talked about. The 3 stages of a good listening activity. She had all those features in her presentation: the pre-listening task, the while listening task, and the post-listening task. This kind of methodical teaching is sure to refine the learner's understanding of grammar and help them develop their own vocabulary. Thanks a lot, Richa, for your contribution today. Friends, we now move on to the second panelist of the day, Mr. Virinder Singh. Mr. Virinder Singh is a lecturer of English in a school under Directorate of Education, Delhi. He has over 30 years of teaching English at various levels. He insists on calling himself a learner, which is clearly reflected in the way he has been involved with continuous professional development programs at British Council, ELTAI, RELO, and Trinity College, London. As a certified trainer, he has been a resource person for various in-service programs at SCERT. Virinder Singh. Over to you, Virinder.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Jayashri ma'am, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to this short presentation on developing listening skills at secondary level. Friends, I would love to start my presentation today with this quote here by Terence McKenna. Half the time you think you're thinking, you are actually listening. This makes us realize as to how much listening we do in a day, even while we are all alone. Now, a look at these 2 pictures on your screen makes us clear the two kinds of listening experiences we usually have: listening for pleasure and listening for listening with a specific purpose. That is what we call as extensive listening and intensive listening or focused listening. So it would be pertinent here to have a look at some of the objectives of a focused or intensive listening. This kind of a listening may be there for finding out specific information, for just or finding the central idea or the theme of the speech. It may also be for analyzing, inferencing, which also includes criticizing and commenting a speech. So at the secondary level, to enhance the listening skills of our students, we should expose them to all sorts of listening tasks, including the academic ones. And to enhance their listening skills, we as teachers should have some techniques and some strategies up our sleeves to give them the much needed practice for the listening skills. So presently, we will be having a look at some of the techniques that can be employed in any given classroom to enhance the listening skills of our students. We will just be having a slight look at the activities so as to keep the timing. So please keep taking screenshots wherever you feel like taking one. So here we go. The first activity on your screens is now. The picture at the bottom of the screen makes everything clear about this activity. Friends, this is one of my favorites. Firstly, because this is such a good energizer that it helps wonders. It does wonders to break the ice while we are in a new group. And secondly, and more importantly, because this activity highlights the concept of communication loss and thereby the importance of focused listening, by way of which only we can minimize this communication loss. So I'm sure with the given steps in the yellow box, you are clear with the what, how, and why of this activity. So we should be moving on to the next one here on your screens. So this is listening to directions. And students simply love these kinds of activities. And we all will be trying this activity out here now. I'm sure you will be out of the afternoon nap, the effect of your afternoon nap now. And maybe with a cup of tea, you are ready to listen to the instructions now and for a small, simple assessment of listening. So the directions are on your screens. The scale is given there. And we and the situation this message to his friend from the MG Road metro station. So presently, we will all be listening to the message which Raghu has sent to his friend Rahul, and we all will be trying to help Rahul reach Raghu's house. So here is the message. Hello Rahul, as you come out of the gate number 1 of MG Road metro station, you will see a road heading north. As you walk 200 meters on this road, you will see to your right the famous sweet shop Garg Sweets. From this point, you have to turn left. You will be facing Raj Book Depot. Then you have to turn left again, walk 100 meters. You will reach Vinayak Dairy. From this point, turn right and walk 200 meters, and you will be facing Rainbow Tillers. Then turn right again and walk 200 meters, and you will see the famous Shiva temple of our colony, and my house is just to the right of the temple. So friends, just focus your eyes on a point on the screen now where you think Raghu's house is. Now see, even Google has reached there. Wow! And how? Just by way of focus listening, like this. So, those of you who could get it, congratulations. You all can raise your right hand just like this, turn it backwards, and give yourselves 3 pats on the back. But those of you who missed out on the fun, don't worry. Coming your way is another activity. So be ready. Now, listening and drawing. Listening and drawing, friends, is quite different from what at the secondary level from what it is at the primary level. We will be doing this activity. All of us will be doing it. So in the real classroom, the instructions are given twice, but here you will be listening to the instructions only once, being good listeners. So here we go. Listen to the instructions clearly and draw a mental picture of yourself according to the given instructions. So here are the instructions. Draw the thin, long front face of a man in his 40s with loose curly hair. This man has scary eyes beneath thick eyebrows. He has got a pointed nose and a French cut beard and a black mole just below the left eye toward the outer corner. So I suppose you have got your mental picture ready. If your picture is somewhat close to this one in the blue frame, you have nailed it.
Sorry to interrupt you, Virender sir. You have just 1 minute left.
Okay, ma'am. I'm just finishing it. Not a problem. So, now it would be pertinent here to look at this screen. This is a listening skills sample task from the CBSE website. So this is where listening and drawing helps us. Moving on to another activity now. Listening to details. So on the screen, on your screens, you can see a layout map of a residential complex. You can think of a hospital complex, a university, or a school. On the right side of the screen, some locations from the layout map are given in the green box. They are in a jumbled order, and these locations are marked as A, B, C, D, E, and F on the layout map. So students simply have to listen to the recorded tour of the complex, and they have to match them. Now, coming your way are some more strategies for academic listening. Making mind notes while listening to a speech, script writing.
Sorry, sir, you've already exceeded your time limit by 1.5 minutes.
Okay, ma'am. Summarizing and analyzing. I'm finishing it, ma'am. So for the online classroom, you can take a screenshot there of this activity. These are some of the points to remember for the students. I would like to conclude with this quote here. The word listen contains the same letter as the word silent, says Alfred Brendel. Thank you so much for your patient listening, folks. Thank you very much, ELTAI, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Virender sir. I'm so sorry I had to interrupt you. It was so engrossing and so engaging. I felt really bad interrupting you, but then I had to. But then, in the brief presentation that we saw, we could see the changes, the new strategies and innovations Virender sir brought into his classroom. These strategies not only keep the learner engaged, but equip them with the ability to become an independent learner in the long run. Particularly since he's a secondary school teacher, the learners need to become independent very soon. And most of his activities were geared in that direction. Thank you so much, Virender sir. It was indeed a very engrossing presentation.
My pleasure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Our last panelist for the day is Sandesha Rayappa Garbial. She's an assistant professor at JNU's Linguistic Empowerment Cell. She specializes in the area of English language teaching. Her PhD focused on syllabus design for communication skills. She is the project investigator for the first project between JNU and ONGC on the area of documentation and preservation of indigenous endangered languages and cultures. Apart from conducting various training sessions and communication skills workshops, she has also prepared candidates for IELTS, GMAT, and CAT. Over to you, Sandesha ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Right. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to begin by thanking the entire family for this opportunity to share a few ideas with all of you from the teaching fraternity. So since this is about listening strategies, I thought I'll begin with an activity. So everybody, can I request you to kindly put your pens down, your pencils down? I'm going to give out 16 words. Pay attention. I'll say it out only once. So the words are dream, sleep, night, mattress, snooze, sheet, nod, tired, night, artichoke, insomnia, blanket, alarm, nap, snore, pillow. All right, I hope you got the words. Now, coming to the part about LSRW skills, as you all know, listening, speaking, reading, writing. All right. Listening and reading are the inputs, whereas speaking and writing are the outputs. And most of the activities, most of the class sessions, everything focuses mostly on 3 of the 4 skills, which is to do with speaking, reading, and writing. But researchers have proven that of all the communication processes, it is listening which is actually constituting the maximum amount of time that we spend on, which is 45%. If you look at speaking, it's only 30%. And reading is 16 and writing is 9. So are we hearing or are we listening? And what is the difference? So hearing is something which is accidental. It's involuntary. It's effortless. And listening is more focused. It's more voluntary. It's intentional. But then what are the reasons why we're not listening? So the 5 basic reasons are listening is hard work. There's a competition, the rush for action. There's a speed difference. That means you could have 120 words per minute and vis-a-vis another person 360 words per minute. It depends on the profession, because generally it is expected that teachers speak in the range of 120 words per minute, whereas maybe an auctioneer who has to speak faster would speak at 360 words per minute. The lack of training. This is the reason why now there's so much of focus happening about listening strategies. Now, before I talk about a few strategies, would you like to know what are the kinds of listeners out there? There are 4 types of listeners. We have the non-listeners. By the way, pay attention. Try to see where do you fit in. So the non-listeners are the people who listen basically not at all. They're disinterested in the entire subject. These people are the ones who pretend to follow the speaker, but in reality, they're not actually following the speaker. They're preoccupied with something else. So right now, all of you are planning on what to cook for dinner. You are in this category. The marginal listeners are the ones who are impatient to listen to the main ideas. They are the ones who are having a superficial kind of attention. They're interested only in the bottom line. They merely hear the sounds of words, but they fail to grasp the meanings. They don't go into the deeper level of the entire argument or discussion. Now, the third kind are the evaluative listeners. These are the ones who literally, they assess the verbal content on the basis of words, and not on the paralinguistic or the non-verbal cues. They generally use logic to understand the content. They distance themselves emotionally from the subject. As a result, they are the ones who don't show empathy or sensitivity to the speaker. And the fourth kind are the active listeners, the ones who are serious about the whole process of communication. They pay attention to the speaker's stance, the perspective, the point of view, biasness, and prejudices. Now, how does one improve on on their effective listening skills? First of all, you need to make sure that you're not being preoccupied. You have to be having an open mind. You're non-defensive. You're minimizing on the interruptions. Effective listening, after all, is about hearing, interpreting when necessary, understanding the message, and relating to it. It's about asking questions. Well, actually, the right kind of questions, I would say. Now, to avoid a kind of communication distortion, because when you're talking about listening, you need to understand it is a two-way process, all right? You're looking at all the cues. You always need to remember, now repeat after me, people always tend to hear only what they want to hear. Repeat after me. People always tend to hear only what they want to hear. So to ensure that they're listening, one must grab their attention at the beginning and also in the middle of the entire conversation. You can't assume that, oh, yeah, they were paying attention to me in the beginning, so they'll be paying attention to me till the end. That's not possible. You need to grab their attention. So effective communication generally, what does it require? It requires 7% words which are only labels, and the listeners will put their own interpretation. They'll put their own spin on the entire speaker's words. 38% is paralinguistic. Para means support, right? Like you have paramilitary forces, you have paralinguistic words. For example, the way in which something is said, the accent, the tone, the voice modulation. So all of this is important to the listener. 55% of what you say constitutes of the body language. What a speaker looks like while delivering a message will affect the listener's understanding the most. So you cannot expect that you can talk about listening strategy without actually talking about the nonverbal cues. So are we really paying attention? Are we really listening? Now more than ever, we need to look at all the signs, the words, the contents, the pace, the tone, and the overall body and the eye contact. All right. Since we don't have much time, I'll just quickly run through the features of active listening. So we talk about neutral and non-judgmental, being patient, the verbal and non-verbal feedback. We talk about asking questions, reflecting back to what is being said, asking for clarifications, and basically summarizing with whatever that we began with. What are the few tips? Which I've already mentioned, like eye contact, paraphrasing, not interrupting people when they're speaking, watching for the nonverbal behavior, shutting down on the internal dialogue, showing interest, avoiding abruptly stopping somebody, being open, being neutral, and being patient, learning to recognize active listening. Now, coming back quickly to the activity that I began with, I'm going to repeat the words that I had mentioned, and I'm going to add another word. Now, you try to think which is the word that I added. All right. So the words are dream, sleep, night, mattress, snooze, sheet, cushion, nod, tired, night, artichoke, insomnia, blanket, alarm, nap, snore, pillow. Now, which was the word that I added? Can you guess? Yes, you got it right if you said the word was cushion. Cushion was not in the original list, number one. The second thing, some of you might have said, hey, didn't she repeat the word night? Exactly. That means you were paying attention. I did repeat the word night. Okay. And then there might be a few of you who might have got interested in the word artichoke. Why? Because psychologically, when something is different, something sounds very different, you automatically gear up to it. So this is exactly that is true. And few of you might have tried to club all these words within a particular sub-theme. Like, for example, you might have thought it is to do something with sleep. Now, I wanted to just tell you, there is a lot of talk going about 21st century life skills, which has been going on for maybe more than 2 decades around the world. These 21st century life skills, these are important because when the entire education process began, there was an agrarian economy. Then we got into the industrial economy, and now we get into the IT world. When you look at the IT world, Sorry, ma'am, do I have a minute left?
Yes, Sandesha, you have half a minute left.
Okay, I'll just wind it up then. So looking at that, teachers, I would request you, whatever activities, whatever strategies you plan, try to inculcate those 21st century life skills like creativity, team building, collaboration and communication and technology. So there are activities in where you could form them into groups and get them to talk and discuss on some things where they get to save a person. Who are the 6 people they can save out of 12 people for, where they are in a group. So these are the activities that you could plan about. Thank you so much, everybody, for your patient listening. Thank you. Yes,
Oh, Sandesha, thank you so much. I am very sure your classrooms are focused, energy-packed. Clearly, you have gained a lot of experience as a voice and accent trainer. Your familiarity with language lab softwares has made you combine technology with traditional teaching, which really is the screaming need of the hour. Thank you so much. There have been umpteen messages on the chat box where people have been saying that the first presentation without PPT and so effective. And a lot of people answered the question cushion, by the way. A lot of people answered it. Thank you so much, Sandesha. Active listening takes time and practice. However, every time you use active listening, it gets a little easier. It helps you navigate through difficult conversations. More than that, it helps you improve your overall communication, builds a better understanding, and ultimately leads to better academic and personal relationships with family, friends, and co.
Jayashree ma'am, please turn on your camera.
Yes. I think I got disconnected for a minute or so. We now have this opportunity to collaborate. Teachers and schools and college administrators need the support and partnership of parents and society to achieve this. Schools and colleges' readiness for online teaching is critical, but all of them are at varying levels in this journey. Let us look at this as an opportunity to change all that we thought required change. To change and to generate alternate methods of teaching based on the needs of the moment, like our panelists have shown, is going to be our new normal. All the best to teachers and learners in this new journey. We've been having many questions, many interesting questions. One of the important questions that was asked as a fan question to the organizers was, which level are you talking about? I think it was pretty clear that we had all three levels. Our panelists were, one was from the primary school, one was from the secondary school, and one was from the tertiary level. So we've had panelists from all levels. So they've talked about listening skills in each of their levels. I hope I've answered your question. There was a question to Richa. What precautions should we take before we do activities, listening activities with the primary school learners?
Okay, thank you for the question, ma'am. As I discussed earlier, the precautions to be taken before doing any listening activity in the class is you should ensure that the class is silent. The learners are calm and they are ready to learn. You can use grade appropriate language. Keep your activity short, simple, and to the point. Use clear and precise words with correct pronunciation. Make your task real-life situations. That's
Okay. Virinder sir, your whisper activity was highly appreciated by everybody. There were messages after messages after messages saying how they've also tried it and how it's a very effective activity. And finally, after 10 such messages, one person wrote, "Not during COVID times." So,
Got it.
that was it. But the question that 2-3 people asked for Virinder sir was, what are the barriers to effective teaching in the board classroom, when the child is in the board class?
I mean, there's nothing like barriers if we want to resolve the issues. Even in the, in my presentation also, I tried to bring home the point of online learning in these times. So we can use, if we are, clear with the things, then we are always able to resolve issues. And it is just that we have made it a point that we are going to engage the students in all kinds of activities. So that will do the trick, I think.
Thank you. Richa, one more question to you. How do you use technology to students who are in rural areas? Because technology is a challenge there.
Yeah, it is, ma'am. We can use technology at rural areas as much as we can in our hands. Other than that, with rural students, as they are coming from different backgrounds, they will be having different mother tongues. So to deal with that, we can use a lot of bodily language, gestures, facial expressions, and mother tongue, of course, should come at help. And you can use a lot of TPR activities too with them.
Thank you. Thank you, Richa. Sandesha ma'am, there's a question to you. Why do our students find IELTS so difficult? Why are they so unprepared? Is there a gap between our school teaching and our college teaching that they're unable to feel comfortable with this kind of testing?
All right. Thank you so much for the question, whoever gave that particular question.
Turn on your mic, please.
Okay.
Yes. No, your mic is again off.
My mic was on earlier. Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I said thank you so much for the question, whoever posted it. As far as the IELTS examination is concerned and the test is concerned, the students that we are seeing in India, they are not exposed to the kind of environment where they are listening to the English language. So it is something that is extremely crucial, because people who think that they know the language, but when it comes to the actual test, when the listening test happens, you can actually have British English, you can have Canadian, American English, you can have Australian English, and even that becomes a problem for them. That is just specifically to do with the listening part. Then we come to the speaking part, which is happening after the reading and writing part, because as people who know about the IELTS examination, there are 4 parts to it, where you do listening and reading and writing initially, and you do the speaking part later. So the same thing, when it comes to the writing, most of the students are losing their points in the writing part, in the listening part, and the speaking part. In the writing part, they're not able to write if it is a general kind of one or an academic one, because there are 2 kinds of tests. In the United Kingdom, or let's say in Canada or Australia, you need to give the academic test. And if you want to do something which is just work related, then you need to do the general one. So the academic writing part is a really intense one for a lot of people in India. And this, I would say again and again, it is more to do with them being exposed to that particular environment. So I would request the teachers, the English language teachers, you will have to go out of the box. You have to start thinking beyond it. You just don't talk what is just in the syllabus. You have to tell your students to go beyond it. You have to tell them this is what we are teaching you, but there is more to it. Because this is the gap which is happening, because the students, they're reading something to do with Shakespearean or anything else which is not related to what is actually, when it comes to the speaking part, when it comes to the listening part, because when you look at the listening test, you have things like conversations happening at the post office or at the movies, and then the students are not able to relate to it because of the accents. So that is one issue. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There are many questions to Richa asking that our students come from humble background. What kind of activities do we do with them? I think Richa in her very first slide told us that her students also come from heterogeneous background, and
Exactly,
all the activities she has used in her presentation are for students of those kind of backgrounds only. So I'll let that question be. Virinder sir, one of the participants here asked that at the secondary school level, how do we deal with uneducated parents, especially online learning, online listening?
I don't think, this is a question I am entitled to answer exactly. So each one of us has to devise our own, method in treating such parents.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Would any of the other panelists like to add on to this regarding uneducated parents at their levels? Yes, Sandesha.
Well, I would like to say this, that it's not necessarily that the people who are educated, they themselves have that kind of time to expose their child to the listening skills or the listening strategies. So let's talk about the actual, the issue. The thing is that you have to initially, whether you're educated or uneducated, you have to let your child be exposed to the language, whether it is English language or any foreign language. All right. You cannot expect a child to pick up things as an input. Like, you can't expect to give them an output of speaking and writing if there is no input happening. So let the child listen to songs. Why do we have singing competitions in English? It's not just about that kind of, creating that environment of just fun. It is because we want them to be we don't know what is happening in somebody else's home. We don't know who are the students who are being allowed to listen to songs in English. So that kind of an exposure is extremely important. Even listening to the news in English is important. Watching certain movies, like Sound of Music or something which you can allow children to watch with their family members. Those things are important. And I'm sorry to say.
That's true. That's true.
And one thing, ma'am, that I would like to point out, it is very unfair to say that, just because somebody is uneducated or somebody is not at a particular profile, that they are not exposing their children. In fact, it's quite interesting that we are actually finding children whose parents are giving them their mobile and saying that, okay, I don't know how to speak in English, but I'm sure this mobile can connect you to the outside world, wherein you can go to, and they're doing it. So we're listening to children.
Absolutely.
Okay, Richa wants to say something. Thank you.
Yes, Richa.
Just adding on to ma'am's, Sandesha ma'am, this parents are providing technology to their students. The Read Along app, which I have talked about, it deals with English as well as Hindi language, and parents are really curious to let their children learn English through those apps. Even if they are not educated, they are providing the facilities to their learners. So it's very encouraging for them.
Also, our schools begin this training from the primary school level. So our learner is pretty independent at the secondary school level. So he's not so dependent on the parent. So we hope we are producing independent learners, and our students don't need a fallback. I'm sure our learners are capable of dealing with that by that time. So educated or uneducated is not the question. Parents' education is not the question here. Thank you so much, everybody. Sandesha ma'am, if you have some, particularly good online sites that you suggest to teachers, it would be interesting for a lot of people. A lot of questions have come up on that.
All right. Thank you so much. So quickly, just to wrap it up, because we've already got our signals to wrap up the entire thing. teachers, I would request you to kind of go through, everybody knows about TED.com, right? You all know about all these different channels wherein you could get your students to actually, listen to them and then, discuss about it. So this is like a two-way process. When they're listening, that listening is not enough. They need to communicate with the others. They need to practice that what they're listening is right. Like if you're not going to let them communicate with others, how will they come to know it's right or wrong? And the other thing that is important, and the other thing before I get cut off, is dictionary.com. There are words wherein they can actually click and they can come to know how does it sound, because there are.
Thank you, Sandesha. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, goodbye to everybody. It was great being with all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. We've had great fun being with all of you. Hope you enjoyed the session as much.
Giving us this opportunity to Delhi office for giving this webinar today. I am especially thankful to Dr. Sanjay Arora, National President, ELTAI, Dr. Reddy Shekhar Reddy, National Vice President, and Dr. Shravan Kumar, National Vice President. I'm also really thankful to Dr. Xavier Pradeep for giving all the help to us. And I'm especially thankful to our esteemed Jayashri Kannan ma'am, the moderator of the day, and all the panelists, beginning from Ms. Richa Chahal, who is from Directorate of Education, New Delhi, Mr. Virender Singh, who is again from Directorate of Education, Delhi, and Ms. Sandesha Rayappa from JNU. Thanks a lot for giving us such valuable and wonderful session and giving ideas on how to develop listening skills. And this is Dr. Khalik Ahmed, President of Delhi Chapter South, giving a vote of thanks to all of you. Thanks a lot, all the participants. There were about 1,500 roughly, I could calculate, who were actively participating in this event. Thanks a lot, and thank you for patronizing us and giving us your valuable comments and feedback. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful session. On behalf of ELTAI, we thank all the three panel members, the three speakers of today's session, Dr. Sandesha Rayappa, Mr. Virender Singh, and Richa Chahal. And we also thank Mrs. Jayashri Kannan ma'am for moderating the session in a wonderful manner. And we have a couple of announcements to the participants. As we have been announcing that each participant need to fill the form, registration form, and also feedback form separately for each individual session. And please don't log in and go away unattended the session, because closely monitoring app is observing your active participation. If it is not active participation, it will be rejected for eligibility to get certificate. And while filling the registration form as well as feedback form, you are supposed to give your details very clearly, because the same details default to be taken to print the certificate, to prepare the certificate. So as we have thousands of participants, it is not possible to entertain the request for what is called corrections in the certificate. So that is why you are supposed to take care that you are giving correct details while entering your names, designations, institution, mail IDs, whatever it might be. If there is an error in the email ID, the mail gets bounced, so you could not get the certificate. So you have to take care that you are giving the correct details in our feedback form as well as in the registration form. And we'll be sharing with you the next session's what is called the topic and registration form link and all these things shortly. And we are expecting meeting you all in the next session of ELTAI webinar series. We thank each and every one of you who participated in the session actively. Thank you, one and all, from ELTAI India. Thank you.